Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we're going to be taking a look at the Warcry Compendium, as well as the August free miniature that you can get at the Games Workshop stores, or the Warhammer stores, rather. And so this, I actually drove to my local Warhammer store today, picked it up. Again, this is the free model. All you have to do is just drive down to your local Warhammer store, ask for it, and they'll give it to you if they have any in stock. So we're going to take a look at that. It is a unique sculpt of a member of the Rotmire Creed for Warcry, so that's why we're doing it with the Compendium. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Compendium. Now, this is actually my second time trying to record this video. So with the Compendium, it compiles all of the warbands, at least all of the main warbands for each Grand Alliance. Now I know that some of the individual warbands were released on the Warhammer community site, and so this is more encompassing. So it's not just the rules for those warbands. This also includes the rules for monsters that you can use, allies that you can use specifically, as well as provide you some, let's see, I believe it even gives you some possible campaigns as well. So let me double check that one. Okay, and actually it looks like it doesn't have any campaign or anything like that. So this is literally just the rules, the different abilities for the different units. So like for the Order, you know, we have the Carabitus, the War Hydra, so it has their abilities, including, you know, any reaction abilities that they might have. And let's see, so like for the main warbands themselves, you know, you have all those new reactions, and so you have the updated points, the updated stats for each of them as well. And again, this covers all of the warbands for each Grand Alliance with each of those abilities. Now, what surprises me is that in here we don't have any of the warbands from Warhammer Underworlds, which I honestly thought that it did when I first looked at it the first time, but that was more of a cursory glance. Like here we have the Lumineth Realm Lords. Definitely looking forward to trying them out, because we actually finally got our hands on some Realm Lords recently, and so we are looking forward to actually giving them a try in the game. And the great thing about this game is, you know, you can have a ton of armies and they won't occupy nearly as much space as an actual Age of Sigmar army would. And so it allows you to experiment and play with different flavors and different warbands that you never would have picked up an army for. And, you know, so that way, you know, if you find that you like them, now you have a starting on point for building your actual Age of Sigmar army as well. I mean, the detail in the images that we have, the stats themselves are fantastic. I know that all of the reactions and everything else, those are actually covered in those free PDFs. So what's honestly surprises me about this book is that the free PDFs that they released with those rules, there's no warbands in here that are not in there. And the only thing I'm not certain of is I believe this has all the monsters and things like that and allies, where those did not. So like right here we have, for Chaos, we have the Slaughter Brute, Chimera, the Chaos Gargant, the Gorgon, Hell Pit Abomination, Cygor, and Mutalith Vortex Beast as different monsters that you can bring in, as well as Thralls of Chaos, like the Razor Gore, Chaos Spawn, and so on. So my understanding is these options that you can add on and allies are not included. Now, when you have a compendium, what I honestly hoped that we would have seen, and we don't, is the rules that came out, not too long ago to a while ago, of specific characters like Gotrek. Christmas, I believe 2 years ago, maybe, I'm pretty sure it was 2 years ago, came out with the rules for him to be used. And, with the Tome of Champions, the other Grand Alliance books, you had different allies and things like that you could bring in. And so this does not include them, at least not in their entirety, as far as those named characters. So like Gotrek, he's not in here whatsoever. I've looked through this multiple times, have not looked at every page, mind you. So if he's in here and I'm mistaken, I apologize. But I have not been able to find him. Just like Jacob Bugmanson, I believe he was Christmas last year. No, not last year. So maybe he was 2 years ago and Gotrek was 3 years ago. But it feels like it's been around a lot less time than 3 years already. So either time is going by really fast and it's blowing my mind at the moment, or I'm completely confused on when those cards were released in White Dwarf. I'm guessing probably the latter. But as far as collecting the rules, nobody wants to take a PDF and print it out, especially in color, just because those costs can get up there depending on what kind of printer you have. So obviously, like, I would recommend picking up these books, but and especially because you get the rules for like the monsters and things like that I don't believe are in the PDF. But definitely worth picking up. Now, one thing that is in this book that was not in any of the previous books is the new Kin of Nergal models. Model, specifically the Rotbringer Sorcerer, is now included in this compendium. I don't know if he was in the PDF that was released or not. I did not actually download those and view them, so I can't say with certainty. And actually, I don't remember the Infernal and Rapturous being available either originally for Demons of Slaanesh, but here they are. So definitely some things that I didn't remember being there before. Like, I don't remember the Lord of Pain or the Shard Speaker being available, and they're there as well. Let's see. The new Skaven Deathmaster is in here as well. So that's awesome. And a pleasant surprise. What surprises me, though, is just the fact that we don't have the Warhammer Underworlds models included in here, since a lot of them were covered in White Dwarf, as well as we got actually recent cards for them in White Dwarf as well. We have oh, what is that game? Blade something, Blade Storm. I have a feeling that's the wrong name. Excuse me. Regardless of what the name is, it was a box game that you can get at like Barnes & Noble and some other bookstores. And in it had cards for all of the chaos-themed warbands from Underworlds to be used in Warcry with it. So I'm honestly surprised that we don't have any of them in here. And I expect that we are probably going to get either another compendium of sorts or a Tome of Champions or something before the end of the year that's going to include them. I have seen a lot of people talking about it. Here we have some Cypherlords, which they're no surprise. And a lot of fans are asking for updated rules for them specifically. And so I'm hoping that we do see those come soon. I'm just flipping through here because I'll recognize them a lot easier than I would some of the other Chaos warbands, and they're definitely not in here. But at the back, we do have a copyable Warcry Warband roster, as well as encampment roster. Since we've added encampments to the game, and then as well as your kind of almost like an after action report for your warband with the hero section and fighter section, and all of these pages can be copied and duplicated, so that way you don't have to actually write in the book. I wish, and I understand why they didn't do this, but I wish that you were allowed to copy the actual stat cards, because, like, for instance, with Sylvaneth, you have 2 pages of stat cards, and so if you're using stats from a couple models on this page and a couple models from this page, if you don't know them inside and out, you're going to have to keep flipping back and forth to double check their stats and make sure that you're playing properly. And so, like, if you're able to make those copies, it would be much more convenient to be able to set them side by side. Now, in the PDFs, there might be notes that allow you to copy them, and if so, great, and I would do so. I would highly recommend doing so. But I don't know for sure if you can or not, because again, like I said, I did not download them and have not looked at them directly. But a lot of cool stuff in here. The bulk of it is just the rules and stats for the normal warbands that were not part of Underworlds. None of the special characters either, like Gotrek or Jacob Bugmanson. But there is a lot of stuff in here that you can utilize. So highly recommend picking it up. This book is probably the thickest one that they've come out with for Warcry. I mean, it's got some significant weight to it. But highly recommend picking it up just for the rules alone, especially since it has the rules for all of your opponents. And so before I forget, this was provided to us for the purpose of this video by Games Workshop ahead of time. And so at the time of our filming, this is currently not available yet, but once you see this video online, it is now available for pre-order at that point. So thank you to them for sharing that. Now, let's go ahead and get the model out. So there's no assembly instructions because I've actually opened this up just to see if there were. But I imagine it's going to be quite easy to actually assemble. Because essentially what we have is, we have a torso with only 1 leg, and so it's obvious where the other leg is going to go. his two arms are not attached, but even someone with the most basic understanding of anatomy is going to know which hand is the right hand, which hand is the left hand, and then attach that appropriately. And then we just have kind of the front of his cloak and his face that will attach to the front of the model. The only thing I'm not sure about is this kind of little pouch with looks like a stick hanging down from it. Could be a piece of leather, I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to bring up some pictures of the model to see if I can identify what that is and where it's at. But there's a great amount of detail, and that honestly surprises me, considering the fact that they're just giving this model away absolutely free. Now, I get why they do it. It makes perfect sense, because if they give away a single model, I mean, it's not that expensive to produce this model, but it's getting you inside their store where they get 100% of the profits. And so your local shops are not going to be getting these, as far as the non-Games Workshop branded shops, like our friends over at Games U. As much as we want to support them, getting the free model means one of our visits to a store is not going to be them. So it does kind of drive some of the business to them directly. And and anytime that you go into a store, there's always the temptation to buy something new while you're there. Just like when I picked this up today, typically when I buy my paints, I buy them all from Games U. But today, when I picked this up, I knew that I needed some Hachette copper. And since I was already there, I didn't want to go to a second store this week, since at most I go once a week. So I'm already at my quota for the week there. So, I went ahead and bought it there at the same time. So, I mean, the business model works for them to do this. I do wish that they offered these to some of the other stores, like maybe ones that they have like a certain level of relationship with, that maybe do a certain amount of business every month or something, and allow them maybe to do it. Just a suggestion. I don't know if they're ever going to do anything like that. I highly doubt it. But it would be really cool if they did. But if you can get a hold of one of these models, I highly recommend it. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to paint. A great amount of detail. It's just as detailed as the actual miniatures that were in the Heart of Gur box set. So definitely suggest picking one of these up. But that's it for tonight. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. We do really appreciate it. Also, if you could, please subscribe, because that will definitely help us out. More so because we've had several of you asking for us to find a way to update our URL, so that way it's much easier to find by name. And in order for us to do that, we have to have 1,000 subscribers to do so. So if you guys can hit that subscribe button and help us out, we'd really appreciate it. But also in the comments, let us know what types of things you would like to see, what types of things you'd like to have us talk about. And we'll definitely do everything we can to try to make some of that stuff happen. Or if you have any questions about, something specific in the book, like how many points is this specific guy, put that in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you, especially since those rules for those individual warbands have already been released in PDF by Games Workshop on the community site. But I'll be more than happy to answer those questions as well. But again, thank you guys as always for watching. I hope you have a great night.